It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
And welcome in to another edition of Musso at the Box. LSU rolls on through its preseason practice portion of their schedule. They inch closer and closer to opening day against VMI on February the 16th. We have a lot to get to today. What I want to do is I want to go back through yesterday's scrimmage because it was first of all, a beautiful day out at Alex Box Stadium for some baseball, and it was a very balanced scrimmage from LSU. You saw a lot of good things from a lot of different guys. There were very good pitching performances throughout. There were very good offensive performances throughout, specifically from Mac Bingham and Josh Pearson. We'll get into those a little deeper. And there was also great defense in the scrimmage, I should say, as well. So very balanced, very complete from LSU. You got to see a lot of different things, a lot of different angles of this team on Sunday. Now, again, there's a schedule change to get to with the preseason scrimmages. They'll have another one tonight. So obviously, look, here in Baton Rouge on Saturday, it was just it rained so much, animals were about to start showing up 2 by 2. So that got washed out. They moved it to tonight at 6 p.m. So I was hopeful that maybe they'd be able to get it in. They weren't. So we only have really one scrimmage to go through today. But as I said, plenty to react to from that. So we're going to dive right into that. But before we do, remind you, follow me on Twitter. You can follow me, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Just go to YouTube, type in Musso at the Box, subscribe to the channel. That's the big change this year, right, is the new video element. Seems to be working out pretty well so far, just one episode in. So it'll really help the channel. Like the video, share the video, get subscribed to the YouTube channel. And, of course, same as always with the audio format, right? Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts, I'm there. Like, subscribe, share that out as well. All right, let's get into some baseball. And scrimmage got started pretty impressively on the mound. So Cade Anderson, a true freshman from St. Paul's, started for one side. Javin Coleman, of course, veteran lefty for LSU, started on the other side. Anderson was technically... The way they do this is, they're all wearing the same uniform. They don't split it into, a team purple or a team gold or a team white or whatever. They're all in the same uniforms. They can just interchange on sides. Sometimes it can actually get pretty confusing. They did function this one more as a game like scenarios, though. How Jay would manage a game is more or less how they did this scrimmage. Normally they'll start an inning with a runner on first base with nobody out. He didn't bat or anything. They just placed him there to see what the pitcher can do in that situation. They had a little bit of that, but for the most part, it functioned well. They had pitching changes mid-innings, which is not something that they would normally do in the controlled scrimmage, but they did that. So today, I will say, again, while they're in the same uniform, so Cade Anderson technically was the starting pitcher for the home team, so he went out there first, and saw Cade Anderson last week as well in a scrimmage, and it was, I'm trying to find the stat, excuse me, it was pretty good. He only had 2 innings there. They extended him a little bit more in this one. But when I say he got off to a great start yesterday, he got off to a great start yesterday. He struck out the side in order on 10 pitches. The fastball was up to 94 miles an hour. 3-pitch guy so far, but really focused yesterday on the fastball and the curveball. And as I said, struck out the side in order. If you're wondering, it was Ben Napolt, Ethan Fry, and then freshman Jake Brown. Those were the 3 that he took the task in the first inning. So that was a great start to see from him. He would run into a little bit of trouble in his second inning of work. They started with the runner on first base, like we were just talking about, and Mac Bingham took him deep for a 2-run homer, and then Josh Pearson followed that up with a triple, and he would eventually come home on a squeeze bunt. So got into a little bit of trouble there in his second inning of work, and again, when the lineup flipped over, they sent him back out there for a third. He got into a little bit of trouble as well. Leadoff walk to Napolt there to start that his third inning of work got him into trouble. All in all, it was a 3-inning day for him, 4 hits. He did give up the 5 runs, which was the high for an LSU pitcher on the day yesterday, but struck out 5 in 3 innings as well. So that's kind of what we're going to get with. That's kind of what I meant off the top when talking about the scrimmage being, good pitching performance, good offensive performance as well, just kind of interwoven into one. You saw a lot from LSU there. The things I liked about Cade Anderson, and I'll say this, obviously the stuff stands out. It definitely seems like he can profile as a starting pitcher. Perhaps this is a guy you could see start midweek games for LSU this year while they bring him along. He's definitely somebody that they want to have a role, and I say that because this is the second week in a row now I've seen him do this. After he's been lifted from the scrimmage, he's ended up back in the bullpen. Like he leaves the game mound in the scrimmage and heads straight back down to the bullpen and continues throwing. So they're continuing to work with him, continuing to bring him along. It makes sense that they would really like to see him form some type of role in this team. Again, what that may be, we will continue to figure that out. But freshman lefty who can get up to 94 miles an hour, and like I said, 10 pitches needed to get through that top of the first for him. That was awesome. You would have loved to have seen him continue to, kind of roll along. Wasn't there. But the other thing I will say that he did, except for his third inning of work, he consistently worked ahead of the hitter. Yes, some guys got him. Look, Mac Bingham's a veteran player. All right. That guy he's going to produce for LSU this year in the lineup. Veteran guy who he's talented. Right. Kid hit 10 home runs and over 300 last year. Josh Pearson, same thing. Veteran guy. Okay, they got you. It's your first year of college baseball. Guys like that are going to get you. But overall, him working ahead in the count, love to see that. And again, the stuff obviously plays. The pitching performance of the day yesterday was Javin Coleman. And it's 2 weeks in a row now that I've been out there and seen Javin Coleman and seen him really, really, really excel. He looks very, very healthy. Yesterday, the fastball got up to 95 miles per hour, which is awesome. I mean, that's something you saw from him here and there as a freshman, especially down the stretch in that regional at Oregon. You might remember that outing from him where he was up to, 95, 96. So it got up to 95 yesterday. That was great. So far, I've seen him throw 5 innings. He's given up 1 run, and it was well, we'll get into how it scored a little bit later because that's a big sequence in the game or in the scrimmage that I actually do want to touch on. But in 5 innings, I've seen him give up 1 run and punch out 5. What was so impressive about him, aside from fastball getting up to 95 and all of that, he faced the minimum through 3 innings. And then they sent him back out there and he got into a little bit of trouble, and then they yanked him. But got 3 flyouts in his first inning of work, was fantastic. Then, he goes back out there for the second, and that's when you saw them start with the runner on first, right? They plant the runner there, and he got an order. So, I mean, he didn't allow that runner to reach first base. So there you go, facing the minimum. Goes back out there in this 3rd inning, gets a flyout to right, strikeout. And for what it's worth, the lineup he was going against was more of the starters. They do a great job, LSU and Jay Johnson do, of splitting the teams fairly evenly. But if you look at what we would dub the home lineup, it was Paxton Kling, Brady Neal, Tommy White, Hayden Travinski, Jared Jones, Michael Braswell. Like, much more of these starters were in that one, and that's who Javin Coleman was going against and carving through, facing the minimum, like I said, his first trip through. When they sent him back out there, he walked the leadoff hitter. I could try to find who that was if I really study my notes here, but it's really not that important. The runner would advance on a balk, but then he'd get a strikeout, I believe actually of Brady Neal. Now that I look into the notes, yes, and that's when they went and had their first in-game pitching change. And excuse me, and I want to get into that sequence in a moment, but one more thing on Javin Coleman. This is a guy who can fill multiple roles for LSU this year, and that should excite everyone listening. He can start for you if you need him to, whether it be midweek, whether it be a spot start, potentially down the line in tournament ball, whether it be in a midweek game. He can provide long relief for you out of the bullpen. If, say, you have a starter out there who gets shelled in the first inning because it's baseball and that happens. or he can come in at the back end of a game if you really need him to. He's one of your more versatile arms, and he's a veteran, which is fantastic. And it's something that he is what really can show off the depth of this staff. When you have a veteran like that can fill so many different roles, that you can put him in any situation into the game and count on him to be effective. And he does. I mean, he couldn't look any more effective than he does right now. Again, he looks fully healthy, because at the end of last year he wasn't. You know, he worked really, really hard to get back last year, and probably came back too early, if we're being honest. He had that stretch of, like, I don't know, maybe 2-3 weeks where he was really good, and after that he just hit a wall. He hit a wall. But he kept going out there. He kept getting you outs and at least contributing in some way. He was a valuable piece for you. But right now, he looks like he could be one of your most valuable pieces heading into the 2024 season. Very, very exciting. Very, very excited, I should say, about Javin Coleman. That sequence when they took him out and had the pitching change, I immediately, perked up when that happened, just because of the situation that someone was going to inherit. When you look at what Coleman did, having 3 shutout innings, or 3 1/3 shutout innings to that point, could the next guy come in and hold the line? And especially whenever I realized who the next guy was going to be, and it was going to be Fidel Uoa. He's a junior college transfer who's coming in, right-handed pitcher, has a fantastic mustache, like elite facial hair. It's beautiful. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, you got a guy coming in, junior college transfer, into this spot. Keep in mind, he inherits a runner on second with 1 out. And oh, by the way, he's going to face Tommy White and then Hayden Travinski. So White and Travinski are due up. This guy's coming in for this. He comes in and immediately just challenges Tommy White. I mean, first 3 pitches were fastballs. 95, 94, 95. Just gets it past him. Starts trying to flip in the breaking ball a little bit. Didn't have quite the feel for it yet to that point. But because after he threw the 3 straight fastballs, went back to the breaking ball, came back with another fastball that was off the plate, and then had Tommy out in front. And quite honestly, he was just fooled. It wasn't a great breaking ball by any stretch, but because this guy's hurling 95 at you, he's trying to get started earlier, and he swung and missed, and you get the strikeout. That was huge. Huge, huge, huge to see from Uoa to come in a spot like that, runner on second. Again, scrimmage, I get it, but first year on this team, out of junior college, trying to prove yourself against one of the best hitters in college baseball, to get him swinging in that spot, that was massive and just highly impressive. Hayden Travinski would come up after that, and it was a little infield single. I mean, it was almost like a swinging bunt from Travinski, and he reached. So you have runners at the corners. What was unfortunate is it happened with 2 strikes, and, I mean, look, Uoa made the pitch to get out of it. Travinski kind of rolled over it, and it just happened to be in the right spot, and nobody could get him at first base. So you have the runners at first and second. Now they pinch ran for Travinski at that point, and and Jared Jones comes up to the plate. So again, I mean, murderer's row that Uoa is having to go through here with an inherited runner. While Jones is at the plate, the pinch runner steals or takes off from second. Alex Milazzo throws through, which allowed the runner to come home and score. So you charge that back to Coleman. So technically the inherited runner did score, but your base runner who took off gets caught in a rundown, because when Milazzo threw the ball down to second, threw, they came in to cut it off. They just didn't have a play at the plate, so they got the out in the rundown that way, and Jones is left at the plate. So did he totally get out of the jam? No, but in an actual game scenario, I don't know if Alex Milazzo or Brady Neal or whomever will be back there at catcher at that spot would throw down to second base. You would probably just allow the base runner to have it, and see if you can't get out of it in there. But again, it's the thing that makes these scrimmages so valuable, right? Is the situations that you can put a pitcher in. That's something that obviously could happen in a game, right? Is you're bringing in. We'll use Uoa for the example. You're bringing him in, runner on second base, one out against the team's, murderer's row, 3, 4, and 5 in that lineup. And he damn near got out of it. The strikeout of Tommy White was very, very, very impressive from him. And like I said, look, the fastball was 93, 95, topped out at 96, had great command of that all day. He flashed 2 different off-speed pitches, kind of an overhand curve, and then I couldn't really tell what the other one was, if it was a really tight slider, a splitter, or even kind of a change. But once he settled in with that breaking ball after his first inning there, when he was facing White and Travinsky and those guys, it really became a nice pitch for him. I was impressed. Now, he got into some trouble a little bit in his third inning of work, but when they brought him back out there, Jared Jones is back at the plate. He strikes him out, then gets a ground out to short and a ground out right back to him. So he was cruising through at that point. What was an inning and an inning and 2/3, and looked very good. Got into some trouble in his third inning and ended up giving up 3 runs technically on the day, but struck out 3, didn't walk anybody. You love to see that, especially if he's going to be somebody that they could potentially count on to come in out of the bullpen in a jam-like situation like that, to come in and throw strikes. That was the most impressive thing that I saw out of Fidel Uoa, and I was very, very pleased with his performance. Number 40, keep an eye out for him. I do want to talk about a little bit of the a few offensive performances here momentarily before we switch back to pitching, because there's a couple other things that I want to touch on. Josh Pearson and Mac Bingham made life a living hell for just about any pitcher that they faced yesterday. Those two were hitting back-to-back in, the visitor lineup, what we would dub that. And Bingham was in the 4-hole. Pearson was in the 5-hole. Mac Bingham went 3 for 4. I have him 3 for 4. There was a play that he kind of went through, swinging bunt, and Cade Anderson fielded it, went to throw down to first base. Bingham was going to beat it out. He was going to be safe, but it did allow it ended up allowing a run to score because the ball hit Bingham in the back and he collided with Jared Jones. It was actually a scary moment at first base for Jones, who he went down on the play and was clutching his wrist, but he didn't miss any time. He stayed in and was fine. So I awarded him and just scoring it the way I was like, okay, he was going to beat that out anyway, so he gave him the hit. So 3 for 4 with the 2-run home run. Mac Bingham. He was awesome. I mean, it wasn't until his final at bat that he was retired, and he flew out to he flew out to right field. Like, he still put a great swing on the ball, and he was just seeing it really well. That's encouraging because, again, we talked about that on Friday's episode. We were talking about positions that are already solidified, and I said, he's got a spot. I mean, that guy's a veteran player from Arizona coming in. I think he's going to play a corner outfield spot for you, probably left field, because especially with what we saw from Paxton Kling center yesterday, I don't think you want to be taking him out of center field. But it's great to see that production. And again, it goes to what we're saying. Okay, we think certain guys can step into that lineup and produce and replace what you lost. We think that. To see it from a guy like Mac Bingham, because he's in that category. It's like, okay, you see the numbers at Arizona. Again, like I said, hit 300, had the 10 home runs last year. All right, that's the Pac-12. How can that translate over to the SEC? I think he can do it. Can he? You got a little glimpse of it yesterday, and the answer was a resounding yes. The home run that he hit came off Cade Anderson, and it cleared the left field bleachers. I mean, it was a no-doubter from Mac Bingham. Josh Pearson stole the show offensively yesterday. 3 for 3 and was a single short of the cycle. He had a triple in his first at bat, a double in his second, which was a great piece of hitting. It was perfect. He took I believe it was a fastball on the outer half of the plate. The pitch was for sure on the outer half of the plate. Forgive me, I don't remember exactly which pitch it was. I don't have it marked, but it was on the outer half of the plate. He didn't try to do too much of it. He just puts the bat on it, hits it the other way. They have him shifted. So he beat the shift. They have him shifted a little bit over. Tommy White's kind of playing He's playing in at third, but more shaded more towards shortstop. And Pearson just pops this double right down the line, right inside the third base bag in his second at bat, and it scored runs. It drove in runs, I should say. If I can see if I can find it in here, I don't see it. But it was an RBI double at least. And then in his third at bat, he hit a 3-run homer off the Intimidator. Like, as no doubt of a home run as it can get. 421 feet is what the analytics said it went. And again, off the Intimidator. Josh Pearson might be the guy I'm most excited to see this year for LSU. And here's why. Let's go back a little bit to Josh Pearson's freshman year, right? We all remember him contributing mightily that season, and he did. I'll get the number for you right. His numbers for you right here. Hit 299 as a freshman with 8 home runs and 35 RBI, 51 games, and started 35 of them. But it wasn't until later in the year that he broke into the lineup and kind of became that mainstay. But again, and I can remember sitting here on this show telling you throughout the year to put into perspective how good he was playing at that point as a freshman, that if he would have been in the lineup from opening day throughout, he would have probably won Freshman of the Year in the conference. He, at no worst, would have been a major contender for it. 299, 8 homers, 35 RBI. Going into last year, you think, okay, he's obviously going to be a big part of this team. But it took him a while to break into the lineup. There weren't many at-bats for Pearson early in the season last year. But then they go to A&M. First game against Texas A&M, he's in the lineup. And that was because of the trust factor and whatnot. And ultimately, throughout the year, he continues to get ABs. Ended up with 137 ABs, hit 226, 4 homers, 27 RBI last year in 55 games, started 36. So a pretty comparable sample size there, and as a freshman and a sophomore. But the thing that stands out is he never got the chance to be in the lineup from opening day on. He will this year. You're going to get a full season of Josh Pearson, provided he stays healthy, in the lineup this year. And that's why I'm so excited, because all he's done in his time at LSU is hit when called upon. I can go back to last year. I know the average isn't great last year, but the home run against Georgia that put you back in the lead, or off the bench, a pinch hit. That's a huge moment for him. And what he did yesterday, 3 for 3, a single short of the cycle. He did come up with a chance to grab it, but was hit by a pitch, and a 3-run home run off the Intimidator. So that's, again, same thing we're talking about Bingham, right? All right, I think these guys can form the lineup that's formidable. Can we see it? Well, Josh Pearson showing you now you have a lot to look forward to getting a full season out of him in that lineup, and versatility as well. That's a guy that can hit just about anywhere in the lineup. He's done very well as a leadoff hitter for LSU in his time in Baton Rouge. He's hitting the 2-hole for LSU in his time at BatonRouge. Again, yesterday they had him in the 5-hole in one of the lineups. He can hit down at the bottom as well. Anywhere you want to place him, he's going to be so valuable for LSU this year. I'm fired up to see him take his hacks and, again, get that full season in the lineup. A couple more pitchers that I wanted to touch on here, and then we're going to wrap this up. We actually have 3 pitchers that I haven't touched on. I got to see Christian Little again for the second week in a row. Started out really well, did Little. He pitched 3 innings, got through the first 2 innings scoreless, which was very encouraging, and did so with the help of incredible play from Paxton Kling in center field. So let's see. Christian Little's first inning of work was the top of the 4th, and he faced Kucherek, the freshman infielder for LSU, and walked him. A passed ball would advance Kucherek to second base, and then you have a deep fly ball to center field. I'd say Paxton Kling's probably a little deeper than his normal depth that he would play, and he had to shade over to right field into the gap to catch the ball. He came around it perfectly, got behind it, caught it, and fires a dart. I mean, an absolute laser beam of a throw to Tommy White at third base. It never hit the ground. There was no one hop. No. White's got his glove just perfectly placed, open at the bag, and it hits him. Bang. Bang, bang, bang. Right in the glove, slaps the tag on Kucherek. He's out, double play. And then Little would follow up with a strikeout after that. So, again, very big help there. You go to the second inning of work for Christian Little, which would have been the top of the fifth, and the lineup flipped over. He gets a quick pop-up to third base. That retired Napolt, and then Ethan Fry hits a laser of a double to left field. And again, you have a deep fly ball to center field from Jake Brown to Paxton Kling. Does the same thing, about the same depth too. Kind of a little deeper than his normal depth that he would play. Again, kind of shaded a little bit to right center. Comes around it perfectly. Grabs it, throws another laser beam to Tommy White in the air the whole time, and nails Ethan Fry. Neither of those plays were close at third base. I mean, none of them. It was beyond impressive. The accuracy and the arm strength from Paxton Kling. He had a great day in center field. The only ball, the two outfield assists like that on double plays, and the only ball he didn't get to was the triple from Pearson. Pearson hit the triple into the left center field gap. It hit off the wall. Kling almost got there, but it hit off the wall. He hit the wall, and it caromed away. That allowed Pearson to make it all the way around to third base. But that's the only ball he didn't get to. He made a couple nice plays going back to center field, catching him kind of up against the wall. He was awesome. Center field, you watch that, and you go, okay, that's in good hands. Again, that's the thing. It's like we didn't get to see a lot of Paxton Kling in center field last year because Dylan Cruz was out there. So how is the defense going to be? Well, you got an answer yesterday, and the answer is pretty darn good. You feel very comfortable with number 28 patrolling the outfield, and Christian Little did as well because it helped him immensely wiggle around some plays there. Some trouble there in his inning. Now, in Little's third inning of work, they started a runner on first base for him, nobody out, and he had to go through Mac Bingham and Josh Pearson, and there's really just no shame in struggling against those two guys yesterday, and he did. Bingham singled, and that's when Pearson hit the 3-run homer. What was impressive was the way Christian Little bounced back from that. Because he comes back, strikeout, did give up a double, but then a fly out to left field. Didn't allow another run. It would have been very easy for him to get shaken up there after Josh Pearson takes you off the intimidator. But he comes back, strikeout, and pitches around a double with a fly out to left field. That was very encouraging. It was much more of an encouraging outing from Christian Little this week than what I saw from him last week. Last week, it looked a lot like last year. There were free passes. He was constantly behind the count. You look at Christian Little here, 3 innings, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts. That'll do. That's strong. You get that consistently from Christian Little, he can be a contributor for you out of the bullpen this year on this team. The other two guys, Aiden Moffitt. Let's talk about Aiden Moffitt. Saw Aiden Moffitt last week as well, and it was a big struggle. He was just all over the place. It looked like what happened to him last year in the little limited sample size that we had. He was just very wild. The stuff pops. I mean, he got up to 99 again yesterday. Really sat mainly around 96, 97, but did bump the 99. And he kind of came in a tough spot as well, where it was a mid-inning pitching change. He inherited second and third and 1 out, and Jared Jones at the plate. So they threw him into a tough spot. And going through that lineup that featured Tommy White and Jared Jones and Hayden Travinski and Michael Braswell, a lot of the Paxton Kling, Brady Neal, a lot of these starters are presumed starters for LSU. So he comes in, second and third 1 out, Jones at the plate, gets a sac fly. That run went back to Fidel Uoa. And after that, he got a fly out to center. So he only allowed one of the inherited runners to score. That's big to see from Aiden Moffitt in that spot. The other thing I will say is he was more around the plate. There still was 3 walks, but it was more borderline, if that makes sense, than what I saw from him last week. So overall, I was encouraged. I mean, the line, if I read you his line, 2 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts, you're not going to take that and be like, oh man, that's some great improvement. But watching him last week to this week, you could see that there is something brewing there. It just might take a little bit longer than most thought or had hoped for, even going into this year. But when he puts it all together, and he will, and when he does, he is going to be extremely, extremely special. The last guy I'll touch on that we saw was Cade Woods, of course, one of the transfers from Alabama, originally from Louisiana, went to Ouachita. He was effectively wild yesterday. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. He threw 2 shutout innings, didn't give up a hit. The problem is he walked 3 guys. But when he came in, he had to face the top of the order. He was facing the visitor lineups. That would have been DePault, Fry, and Brown. And he started off with a walk, but then gets a pop-up to the shortstop, walk again, a fly out to right field. He would hit Josh Pearson that loaded the bases, and then struck out after Pearson would have been Zed Ruddle. Struck him out to get out of a bases-loaded jam without giving up a hit. I mean, he loaded the bases with 2 walks and a hit by pitch. But the other thing that he did was he got Mac Bingham out for the first time all day. No one had done that except for Cade Woods. So there you go. Effectively wild, and gets out of that jam with the bases loaded. And then again, in his second inning of work, walks the leadoff guy. That would have been Ryan Kucharak. And I believe they pinch ran for him at that point in the scrimmage. And you had to strike him out, throw him out, double play, and then a fly out to right field. So again, effectively wild, gets out of it, and all right, you'd want it to be a little bit more crisp, a little bit more clean, but ultimately, he didn't allow a hit, he didn't allow a run. Those are 2 pretty big zeros to have in your line. And the fastball, it's, low to mid-90s, probably more like 91, 93, but he'll bump that 94, 95, has a nice breaking ball. So just depth on that pitching staff, what we've talked about so much. So when I look back overall at the scrimmage, a little bit more offensively that isn't Bingham and Pearson before we wrap things up here. Ethan Fry is very interesting to me this year because you have to get that kid ABs. I just don't know where you do it without it being DH, because I don't know where you put him in the field at this present moment. And LSU's tried him in a lot of different spots: first base, outfield, catcher. But it's a hard defensive lineup to break into right now for LSU. But the bat plays, man, the double that he had, and he had a walk, so he reached base twice, 1 for 3, a double and a walk. And the double was just the power that is in that kid's bat. He can hit the cover off the ball. You have to get him ABs. I will be very interested to see how LSU figures out the way to do it, because the bat, it's undeniable. The bat plays. So thought he had a really nice day at the plate. Thought Tommy White had a nice day at the plate. It was only 1 for 3 with a strikeout, but it was good to see him get the one when he did. He came up in a lot of spots where, all right, can he come through in the RBI there and didn't. But again, I think we know what Tommy White is. The at-bats yesterday, I thought, were at least competitive from Tommy White. He really made the opposition work there, which was great to see. I mean, Javin Coleman, yes, got the side in order there and went through the minimum the first time, but Tommy worked it to about a 6-7 pitch at bat before flying out to right field. So thought he had a great day. And Hayden Travinski, as well. Travinsky ended up 2 for 3. One of them was the swinging bump, but he also had a double and drove in 2 runs on the day. That's going to be huge because if you want him to hit behind Tommy White, he's going to have to produce to protect Tommy White. And again, right there, you say, okay, well, White didn't drive in any runs. He was in position to do so, but you had Travinsky come up behind him who ended up with 2 RBI on the day. That is massive when you're looking to stack this lineup out. So that's going to provide protection. It's going to make a pitcher pick your poison. Do you want to face Tommy White or do you want to face Hayden Travinsky potentially if they're back to back in the lineup, which I kind of expect them to be. So Travinsky, really nice day at the plate. And then Jared Jones, he's got to cut down on the strikeouts, but he did have a sac fly RBI in the game, which is big as well. That's something that I thought LSU did well offensively yesterday. Yes, you had the big swings from Bingham and Pearson, but LSU manufactured runs well, except for the times they tried to run on Paxton Klink. Any other time, they manufactured runs very, very well in that game, whether it was a squeeze bunt to get a run in, whether it was the sequence we talked about earlier with you runners at the corners and having the runner at first steal and seeing what would happen if you throw through and things of that nature. That led to a run, the sac fly from Jared Jones. So that was something they did so well a year ago and really helped them be able to score runs in Omaha. Is they had a very balanced offense where, yes, they had the power in the long ball, hit 144 home runs, but they manufactured runs with the best of them, and they did that again yesterday. So that is, for me, something, and we talked about that on Friday, that I'm just very, very interested to see is how the lineup comes together and how long it takes the lineup to come together. But if they're going to have performances like they did yesterday against their pitching staff, which I think is very, very good, that's encouraging going forward for the lineup as you look for it all to come together in a complete performance like they had, where they were able to draw walks, where they were able to to manufacture runs, and again, play with the long ball. So all in all, man, a complete scrimmage from the Tigers yesterday. I came away very pleased, very, very impressed. Some things you need to work on, sure, but you had great pitching performances, you had great offensive performances, and you flashed some great leather and played great defense. So complete. Sometimes when you watch these things, you can come out feeling better about one side than the other. That didn't happen. And that could be uncomfortable, right? Sometimes. That didn't happen for me yesterday. I came out of yesterday's scrimmage feeling very good about LSU as a team. And that's really all you can ask for. All right. That's going to wrap us up here for today on Musso at the Box. Like, subscribe, share the podcast out, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the like button, hit the bell as well. You'll get notified. Do the same as well if you're doing it through the audio feed. Very much appreciated. You can follow me on Twitter at Musso Matthew. That would be very much appreciated as well. And we're going to be back here tomorrow on Musso at the Box. I'm not set yet on what I want to do on tomorrow's show. If I want it to be... I thought about going kind of deep dive on the transfers, give you kind of like a preview of that. Guys like Justin Lord, Gage Jump, Michael Braswell, Fidel Uoa, Mac Bingham. We could go through the list there. That's one option that I might do, or I might do the schedule tomorrow. I haven't decided yet, but those things will all happen throughout. So be here tomorrow. We'll have something LSU baseball related on Musso at the Box as the Tigers continue to make their way towards opening day on February 16th. Thank you for tuning in, and be here tomorrow for another edition of Musso at the Box.